just showed your city council that blacks, whites, Mexicans, and Orientals can get together for a concert without killing each other. In the cities where they were allowed to perform, NWA's stage show was polished and professional. They had backup dancers, if you can imagine that. And Dre would get the crowd hyped with warm-up chants like, "Just throw your hands in the air and wave them like you're on welfare." Easy, who acted something like the headliner, wouldn't come on stage until about 20 minutes into the show. Many early shows were billed as Eazy-E and NWA. Despite Cube's pleas, this wasn't exactly a goodwill tour, and behind the scenes, life on the road was chaotic. The group was kicked off their first flight for arguing with a flight attendant. While they showed off fake guns on stage, they traveled from city to city with plentiful real firearms and munitions. Alonzo Williams went along gun shopping beforehand. "These guys are buying automatic and semi-automatic weapons to go on tour with," he said. "I'm like, shit, what kind of tour you guys going on, Vietnam?" Heller made sure that one tour bus had only guns, while another had only bullets. Cube insisted they needed the guns for protection. He claimed that in Detroit, once with Ice-T, local gangsters came calling, and the assault rifles came out. But for all their bravado, they didn't really know how to properly handle guns, said one of the Ruthless's bodyguards, Joe Fierro, with Dre wanting to shoot with his hand cocked sideways, like a gangster. Though Eazy had an armory's worth of weapons at his disposal, including rifles with red eyes and night scopes and night vision, he had no expertise beyond street shooting, said Fierro, a Vietnam veteran whose nickname was KJ Mustafa. So on various tour stops, they went to firing ranges, with Fierro showing Eazy how to take apart his weapons and properly care for them. Fierro said he would contact local law enforcement to try to smooth things over before they arrived in town, and so the group wouldn't inadvertently wander into hostile gang zones. Despite constant badgering from the media, protesters, local community leaders, and fake-ass Jerry curl-wearing preachers, in the words of MC Ren, the group refused to remove Gangsta Gangsta and Straight Outta Compton from their playlists. They agreed not to perform Fuck the Police, but things came to a head on the final night of their tour on August 6, 1989, at Joe Louis Arena in downtown Detroit, home of the Red Wings hockey team. The concert was headlined by LL Cool J and featured all-stars including Big Daddy Kane, De La Soul, and Slick Rick. Some 20,000 fans filled the venue. Rather than boycotting the show, the police presence was robust. DJ Speed, who was performing as DOC's turntablist, said he was spooked to see cops lining up alongside the stage. "Way too many police out here," he remembered thinking, adding that they had a command center downstairs. That particular night, all our personnel were working that venue. There were close to 200 of us. We were strategically placed, confirmed Detroit Police Sergeant Larry Quartz. NWA's camp specifically promised Detroit police beforehand that they wouldn't perform Fuck the Police. But Cube said the group had been besieged that day by fans asking them to perform the song. And so backstage before the show, they had a powwow. "Yo, man, should we do Fuck the Police?" There was no consensus, and Cube assumed the plan was a no-go. But after they performed Gangsta Gangsta, the crowd began chanting, "Fuck the police." After A Bitch is a Bitch, the crowd chanted, "Fuck the police," again. Same thing after Straight Outta Compton. While Cube was rapping, "I Ain't the One," he noticed Dre and Ren speaking near the turntables. Shortly thereafter, Ren motioned toward him. "Wait a minute," Ren said, moving toward the front of the stage. To the crowd, Ren said, "Everybody say, 'Fuck the police.'" "Fuck the police," the crowd roared back. Back by the turntables, Dre looked in Cube's direction. "Come in on 2. Dre counted it down, and Cube came on. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. The place went stupid, Cube said. Then we see about 20 motherfuckers from the back trying to bum rush the front. They were undercover police, members of the department's gang squad, it turns out, tossing aside chairs. Attempting to shut down the show, they climbed the barricade and began dismantling amplifiers. Suddenly, a pair of pops, which sounded like gunfire. They were actually firecrackers, according to eyewitnesses, although it's unclear if they were set off by police. Cube and Ren ran off stage, with Cube changing his shirt and looking for an exit. The cops made their way backstage, mistakenly pushing their way into LL Cool J's dressing room. Meanwhile, NWA loaded themselves into a van. Go to the hotel, pack your shit, the group's road manager Atron Gregory told them. We're going to Canada. By some accounts, the group's frenzied departure from Detroit did take them briefly into Canada, but they ended up back at their hotel. The police caught up with them there, and according to Cube, said they'd be going to jail. But all they did was talk to us, he added. They told us they wanted to arrest us on stage to front us off in front of everybody to show that you can't say fuck the police in Detroit. This version of events veers from the Straight Outta Compton biopic, where the group members are arrested outside the arena and thrown in a paddy wagon. In reality, however, 18 concert-goers were arrested outside the venue and charged with misdemeanors. Sergeant Quartz later said the decision to shut down the show was a poor one, considering the chaos it caused. NWA shortly returned home to LA, but not before Cube made the police an offer they could and did refuse. Yo, y'all want to do a song called Fuck NWA? He claims to have said. We'll produce it. The Detroit fiasco wasn't the only difficulty the group encountered during that first national tour in 1989. In early June, Curtis Crayon, the father of Dre's half-brother Tyree, and their mother Verna Griffin's ex-husband, suffered a heart attack and died. Tyree took the news hard. I don't think Tyree ever fully recovered from the shock, wrote Griffin in her memoir. Though there were some positive signs in his life, he had a new job and was planning to get married. He regularly faced trouble in the streets. Everywhere I go, it seems that someone always wants to challenge me to a fight, he said. On the night of June 25th, 1989, little Warren Griffin, that is, Warren G., knocked on Verna's bedroom door. Two white men in suits had arrived and wanted to speak to her. They broke the news. Tyree was dead. Apparently, he'd fought with a gang contingency and, in the scuffle, fatally hit his head on the concrete. He never regained consciousness. I guess they were fighting and they fell, Dre said. All of them fell and my brother was at the bottom. Dre received word at a truck stop during the NWA tour. He fell to his knees and began crying. He immediately flew home from the tour to grieve, help his mother cope, and plan Tyree's send-off. I thought that everyone in the world who knew Tyree attended the funeral, Griffin wrote. She took care of Tyree's son Cedric while his mother was away in the Navy, and Dre promised to support them. Tyree had been Dre's best friend and biggest supporter, and he was profoundly affected by his death. After my brother passed away, I had started boozing, he said. In his 1999 song, The Message, Dre raps, "Sometimes I wish I just died with you," voicing his frustration with God. Tyree's death seemed to have inspired a cynicism in Dre that spilled over into his music. Whereas his lyrics had previously been anti-drug and anti-gang, he took a sharp turn in the years after the death. The one who puts the G in it, he raps on the same song. Who you think put me in it? Eventually, Dre returned and the tour continued, but more trouble soon emerged. Following a July show in Birmingham, Alabama, MC Ren was accused of raping and impregnating a 16-year-old girl named Sheila Davis on the group's tour bus. She did not file criminal charges, but sued Ren, who had just turned 20, along with Easy, Yella, and Dre. Cube was not named. The case was originally settled for $350,000, but the NWA members refused to pay. One of their lawyers, Louis Sirkin, offered a sworn statement that the musicians didn't approve the settlement, prompting a circuit judge to levy fines of $16 million on the group. This decision was reversed, and the case was scheduled to be retried. But it was resolved definitively out of court in 1993, with the woman, now 20, telling the Tuscaloosa News she was very happy with the settlement, which was reportedly $2 million. For his part, Ren was never charged with or convicted of rape. Davis's lawyer, Gusty Yearout, told the Daily Beast in 2015 that the 4 NWA members were polite when he came out to LA to take their depositions. That is, with the exception of Easy. Eazy-E was kind of a smartass during the deposition, Yearout said. He said things like, Ren would never rape anybody without wearing a prophylactic. The business of censorship. The rape allegation didn't make many headlines, but a few months later, the group found itself caught up in the rap controversy of the decade. On August 1st, 1989, Priority Records president Brian Turner received a piece of mail at the company's offices, printed on Department of Justice stationery. A song recorded by the rap group NWA on their album entitled Straight Outta Compton encourages violence against and disrespect for the law enforcement officer and has been brought to my attention. I understand your company recorded and distributed this album, and I am writing to share my thoughts and concerns with you. Advocating violence and assault is wrong, and we in the law enforcement community take exception to such action. Violent crime, a major problem in our country, reached an unprecedented high in 1988. 78 law enforcement officers were feloniously slain in the line of duty during 1988, 4 more than in 1987. Law enforcement officers dedicate their lives to the protection of our citizens, and recordings such as the one from the NWA are both discouraging and degrading to these brave, dedicated officers. Music plays a significant role in society, and I wanted you to be aware of the FBI's position relative to this song and its message. I believe my views reflect the opinion of the entire law enforcement community. The letter was signed by FBI Chief Spokesman Milt Ulrich. Ulrich's message was strange. It didn't accuse the group of breaking the law. They weren't. And it didn't threaten any specific repercussions, which would have likely been unconstitutional. The letter didn't even mention any specific NWA songs, though it was clearly referencing "Fuck the Police."
Hey, support the channel and let a brother borrow $1.
For more of these fascinating stories and true crimes, subscribe to Charles Arnis World. Thanks for watching.